And we are live. I'll go ahead and call to order a regular meeting of the City Council for October 16th, 2023. Councilmember Gardner advised that he would not be able to attend, so that brings us to invocation and pledge of allegiance. That'll be Councilmember Williams.
Dear Heavenly Father, we thank you for this day. We thank you for this beautiful weather that you're giving us and the cool down, Lord. We just appreciate the good things that you give us. We appreciate the fact that we get to live in this beautiful city. And we ask you, Lord, to be with us during this meeting. Give us wisdom, Father, to know your will. Give us wisdom, Lord, to respect each other and take care of each other. And Lord, we ask that you look over and look out for our first responders, our police and fire. We ask, Father, that your hand be on our police chief, and we ask you for healing for his body and that you would take care of his family. And all these things we ask in the name of Jesus. Amen.
Amen. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you, Councilmember Williams. That brings us to special guests and announcements, and we have a report on the Maumelle Area Chamber of Commerce from Kelly. Come on down.
I actually printed some copies so that you would remember what I say. I would force you to take a look at it. I've got lots of numbers, so I didn't want to throw a lot of numbers at you. Would you like a copy?
Thank you.
So today is actually my 9-month anniversary. So I started on January 16th at the chamber.
If I could get you to wait until you're at the microphone.
Sorry, I forgot the thing. Afraid I might fall if I do that. So today is actually my 9-month anniversary. If you'll remember, I started back in January of this year. So this form tells you a little bit about some of the accomplishments we've had so far this year. And it's not, and I don't mean to brag and say that I did all this, it's because we have a great community who has jumped in and helped with this. So we have 405 members currently with the chamber. 175 of those were new this year. We brought those in a couple of days back in May. We reach over 1,400 people weekly. We have a newsletter that we send out weekly. We also have our social media platform, and we have lots of followers on social media. So we like to use that to share a lot of the activities and events that are going on. We have hosted over 60 events, which is probably why I have some gray hair this year so far, and this is just October. But these events help us to bring our businesses together and our community together. So we've had luncheons, banquets, pipelines, all kind of different meetings. If you'd like to take a look at our event schedule on our website, you'll see all of that. We also just got our new website. In September, it went live this year. So we promote our businesses there, and we promote the city events things. We've got the solar eclipse on there and different things that are going on. So far, we have 10 city partnerships in this year. So we've been partnering with the city to do certain events, projects, solar eclipse, things like that. One of them would be the 4-day festival that we'll be hosting in April of 2024. We had, and I have a promise, didn't mean to do this in error, I have over 1,000 volunteer hours, not 100 volunteer hours. That was a typo for me, from just community members, board members throughout the community. So our goal is to help Maumelle flourish and grow. And so we do this through, and you'll see on that right-hand side of the sheet, there are e-connections, which again, I mentioned that, our newsletters and our social media. We promote not only member events, but we also promote city events, and we reached over 12,000 people in so far this year. Networking, which is to help our businesses work together with our community and to grow. We do all of those type of events. You can see that list there, business after hours, luncheons, and things. We also have a new group that we started called the Flex Pro group, and so that's basically our young professionals group, and that started back in, I think, July, and so we meet monthly. We rotate between lunch and dinner. I think it'll be a great way to spot future leaders for the community with that. We promote the community. You can see some of the events that we've done to promote the community. We've had a teacher appreciation breakfast. We've worked with the Academies of Central Arkansas, the Eclipse. We're actually working right now on Light Up Maumelle to try to amp up the holiday spirit in Maumelle. And so I'm trying to work with businesses to get them to put more lights out, create a better Christmas atmosphere. And, the big thing that's new, so for 2024 City Guide, so I don't know if you remember the guide that the Chamber has done before. It's about a 20-page mail-out thing that goes out. So we're going to take it this year and make it a 100-page, high-quality magazine, all about Maumelle. So that way people will want to keep it. They'll want to hang on to it, leave it on their coffee table, and we're going to place those around, like we've done before, around the community, but also at the Little Rock Air Force Base, at Camp Robinson, and other places that we can promote our community to others. So we're working on that now. That will come out in January. A strategic plan for us, if you see that bottom thing, is we're here just advocates for Maumelle, basically. We want to make sure that businesses develop, recruit, and retain successful workforce. We advocate for economic growth and resiliency. And just to let you know some of the things we're looking at doing in 2024. Yes, we're already planning for 2024. Leadership program, which business leaders in Maumelle to help promote their involvement, trying to get the younger people to get involved, not just complain on social media about government, but to get involved and do things about it. Partnering with the city for a 5-year action plan. I don't think the mayor knows that yet, but we've talked about that at CDI. We'd like to get in there together and come up with an action plan, a shorter action plan, so that we kind of have goals, shorter goals, not just a 20-year plan. We want to continue to develop relationships with our industrial partners. One of the things that Courtney, the economic developer, and I have talked about is a council, an industrial council, so that we can get those guys together and meet like quarterly, find out how we can help them and how we can keep them here. We're going to continue to educate businesses. We do things like AI training online, small business training. This week we're having a luncheon, and it's free if anybody wants to come. It's going to be a group of expert panelists from here in Maumelle, plus Small Business Administration and a couple of other local groups to help entrepreneurs and small businesses, to give them advice and tell them marketing, whatever it is, insurance, whatever their questions may be. They'll be answering those for them at the luncheon. And then we're going to have our annual banquet in 2024. We always honor like a Business of the Year, a Person of the Year. This year we did an educator and we did a Student of the Year, trying to bring the community into that. And I invite you all to come to that. That's going to be in January, the last Thursday in January, and it's a really good party. so I enjoyed it. You'll come to that. Does anybody have any questions about any of the things, any of the numbers?
Councilmember Williams?
It's obvious you are working very, very hard, and I appreciate it. This is crazy. I was going to ask you how many members you have right now, but I see you brought that to us. My business is in Little Rock, but I could not afford to be a member of the Little Rock Chamber, so I appreciate being able to be a member of the Maumelle Chamber and having all this access to all of these goodies. Just for general information, how much is a membership generally? Because I know that there's different pricing, right?
Yes.
Different tiers.
Yeah, it's based on a number of employees. So,
Okay.
And then we have a separate one for our nonprofits, our churches, and our individuals. So individuals can actually join the chamber. We have some who've retired from the workforce, but they want to continue to be involved in the community. Those are 150, and then they start at 250 for a small business, which is 1 to 10 people. They go up to 350, then 500, and 1,000. And that's most of our industrial people, like 101 employees, or our financial institutions.
Oh, well,
So,
thank you.
And we also have opportunities to raise that to be chamber champions as well, for those who want to get a little bit more involved.
Thanks, Kelly.
Thank you. And if I could really quickly, Kelly was being a little bit modest when she said it was all the membership. There's a lot of exciting things going on at the chamber, and a lot of that is due to Kelly's energy, motivation, and determination. She is working, and the chamber is working with the city probably better than I've seen since I've been around. Just the level of partnerships, whether it's you attending some of the CLIPS meetings and being heavily involved in that, the chamber picking up a heavy portion of that. We're meeting very regularly, and it's very nice to have your input and for the city to be able to leverage off you and your membership. So thank you for that. With that, I also wanted to read a proclamation, if you don't mind. I feel like it's been a while since we've done proclamations. I might not remember how to do it.
I forgot about this.
But, here, hop over here with me, Kelly. So this is a proclamation declaring the week of October 16th, 2023 as Chamber of Commerce Week in the city of Maumelle. Whereas the Maumelle Area Chamber of Commerce has been an integral part in the city of Maumelle since its founding in 1991, working diligently to advance the cultural and economic life of our community for more than 3 decades. Whereas the Maumelle Area Chamber of Commerce is dedicated to fostering collaboration between businesses, nonprofits, industry, and merchants to create a strong business environment that enhances employment opportunities and promotes retail trade and commerce within our city. Whereas the Maumelle Area Chamber of Commerce has played an essential role in making Maumelle a better place to live through its commitment to economic growth, community engagement, and the well-being of our residents. Whereas the Chamber of Commerce encourages the growth of existing businesses, thereby contributing to the vitality of our local economy and the prosperity of our citizens. Now, therefore, I, Mayor Caleb Norris, do hereby proclaim the week of October 16th, 2023 as Chamber of Commerce Week in the city of Maumelle, and urge all citizens, businesses, and organizations to join in celebrating the Maumelle Area Chamber of Commerce's commitment to the betterment of our community and the advancement of commerce within our city. This week serves as an opportunity to recognize the invaluable contributions made by the Chamber, the Board of Directors, staff, and members in fostering a vibrant and prosperous Maumelle. So thank you very much for the work you're doing. All right, that brings us to new business, the first item of new business. Yeah, you're right. I skipped a whole bunch of stuff. That brings us to the approval of the minutes. Y'all received a copy of the October 2nd minutes in your council packet. I'll go ahead and open the floor for discussion. If there is none, I entertain a motion to adopt the minutes.
So moved.
Motion is second. Any discussion? Seeing none, all those in favor signify by saying yes.
Yes.
All opposed, no. Motion carries. We don't have any public comment cards, so next up is financial statement review. Ms. Sousa, come on down.
Good evening, everybody. So we are going to review September 2023. Christine and some of you were not last time. We are already using the format directly from the system. So I don't know also, Mr. Gardner, I fix it as you want it. So if you have any question, any adjustment that you want to the presentation, I can always do it. It's just a matter that we need to talk. So the first page, we are going to review the general revenue for the Fund 101. I review it at detail. I do not see any high risk, nothing based on the 2023 budget. Actually, I think that we are going to be above budget in the revenue because most of the departments are doing pretty well. And we do have some extraordinary revenues. So general revenue, we are okay. If we go to the next page, we do have the expenses for the general fund as well. And I commented you before, we are doing pretty well. We are going to be probably a little bit below budget, and we are working on that, so it looks pretty well. If you see, we have more revenue than expenses at this point, but we are okay. Then let's go to the next page. This is where I have for you, next page, Tina, please. This is the, it's because you didn't put the presentation. But, well, it's the fund balance. In the fund balance, as you remember, we have to have the 20% of the operating expenses. Perfect, there. So it is 3.4 million what we have to have. And we have 13.4 million in the general fund. So we are above the requested amount for $10 million. It means that we are in a good health. In the next page, we are in a street fund, 102. Here I have everything together for you for a global view, revenue and expenditures. We are within budget. We have more revenue than expenses at this point. We have $300,000 revenue more than expenses. And we have a fund balance of 4.9 million for the streets. In the next page, we have the sanitation fund that I commented to you before. We are really doing much better than the budget. And we have 1 million of fund balance. And my finance department highlights, I just have very few things for today. Good news, all the departments are working in the 2024 budget. Mayor, if you want to comment something else, but most of them are almost done. The first version for you and the council review will be, I guess, by the end of this month, ready. And the audit 2021 is ongoing. As you remember, our senior accountant continues working with the additional support that the auditor requested. They are working in the internal control review for 2021, but as of today, I can confirm what we provided to them, all the requested and missing information. We are waiting for them to tell us when are they going to deliver to us the final report. But as I told you, I feel confident that we will have that report ready before end of the year. And that's all for today, if you have any questions.
Thank you. Are there any questions? Councilmember Mosley?
Yeah, I'll add to what you were saying there about having the final ACFR report.
Yes.
I did talk to David Coleman, who's partner in charge of that, and he said that he had spent a lot of time last week, about 8 hours worth, trying to figure out what Miss Mathis did and follow her work, but he said he could not figure it out. So it's still in limbo. He said he's going to spend some more time this week. He's trying his best not to have to go back and start all over again. Is that what you understand?
Yes. But they have to do it. I mean,
Yeah.
now.
So anyway, I asked him, I said, how much time should be needed to prepare an ACFR report? And he said, about a week. So
We can dedicate the time. And the point since we are a little delay and auditors have their own schedules, that's why I don't want to commit in any time until they are very certain when they are going to deliver. But both of us are in agreement that will be this year, at least 2021.
Okay, I didn't follow all that. Are you going to try to do the 2022 ACFR, or are we going to?
No, I'm going to work with them.
You're going to work with them?
Mm-hmm.
Okay, great. Sounds good. And Mr. Coleman said his goal is to have the audit wrapped up by Thanksgiving. And,
Okay.
Yeah. Sounded kind of like he had his fingers crossed when I was talking to him.
It's okay.
But anyway, so have you assumed all duties of the finance director? You're handling the budget process this year?
Yes, actually, I work with the different departments. I don't like to work alone at all, so I contact each head of department. We review everything, and then with the mayor. So yes, I'm handling all the
Okay.
budget for 2024.
And I assume Miss Mathis is now out of the picture. That
Yes.
She's no longer has passwords to the system and all that sort of thing.
No, I'm working on that.
Okay. All right, thank you. You mentioned an internal control review is ongoing. Can you give a quick summary of what they do when they're doing it on?
You know that the regular audit, it is a finance audit. But then at the end, when they finish their audit, they do something that is called internal control. And they have to validate that we have, imagine in 2021, if we had the control in place to make a secure audit. Policies, procedures, and they are validating that. It's very difficult to provide, it was difficult to provide the information. We provided everything what they requested.
Okay. Yeah, it sounded like they were pleased getting turnaround. He didn't even mention that you all are still working on some questions or whatever, so he seems pleased with getting all the questions and all
Yes.
that. So,
Yes, I think we are working pretty well with them.
yeah.
And even today, it was the last request, because they asked us for the proof of the backup, IT backup for 2021. And I say, I cannot go back there. So they allow me to provide the 13 last months of IT backup. So Pinnacle helped me, and we delivered today.
Okay. All right, well, thank you very much. I appreciate it.
You're welcome.
Appreciate it.
If there's nothing further, I'd entertain a motion to accept the financials. I've got a motion and a second. Any discussion on that motion? Seeing none, all those in favor signify by saying yes.
Yes.
All opposed, no. Motion carries. We'll move on to procedural motion. At this time, I'd entertain a motion to have all ordinances and resolutions read by title only.
So moved.
I've got a motion and a second. Any discussion on that? Seeing none, all those in favor, please signify by saying yes.
Yes.
All opposed, no. Motion carries. We have no unfinished business, but a fair amount of new business. The first item of new business is the Little Rock Regional Air Force Base Planning Commission appointment. This was we just recently passed that ordinance, sort of joining in that commission. We advertised, the city clerk advertised for that position, and we did have an applicant, Mr. Jeff Van Patten, no stranger to the city council. Mr. Patten, Van Patten, if you could come on down.
I feel so tall on this step up here. Good evening, Mayor and members of the council. Hope everybody's well tonight. There. I'm real excited to contribute and represent the city that I love on this committee, and also hopefully help the regional planning of the Little Rock Air Force Base, which is a huge asset for Central Arkansas, like $1 billion super project that the people at the economic development people always dream about, you know, and we've had one here in Central Arkansas for a long time, and in any event, I'm very, very pleased and happy to be able to work on this and represent each of you and the mayor and all our citizens.
Councilmember Mosley.
Yeah, Mr. Van Patten, thank you so much for putting your name in. You've been involved in this city for years and years and years, and always done it in a very classy manner, always contributed greatly, and so I'm very pleased to see you putting your name in and taking this role. Thank you.
Thank you.
That is correct, Mr. Mosley. We had originally planned on trying to get Scott appointed because we think it's really important that whoever is on this commission communicate very effectively with the city and work well with the city. As soon as we saw Mr. Van Patten had applied, I talked to Scott, and we're both like, yeah, you're good. Let's let him do it, and he would do a great job. That I'm putting the cart before the horse a little bit. If there's no further questions, I'd entertain a motion to appoint Jeff Van Patten to the Little Rock Regional Air Force Base Planning Commission. A bunch of motions in a single second. Is there any discussion on that? Seeing none, all those in favor, please signify by saying yes.
Yes.
All opposed, no. Motion carries with a unanimous appointment for a board. That doesn't happen often. Thank you for
Thank you very much.
volunteering. And I'm confident you'll do an amazing job for it.
I'm looking forward to it.
That brings us to Resolution 2023-30, authorizing the mayor to enter into a contract. Madam City Clerk, if you could please read that by title only.
A resolution of the City Council of the City of Maumelle, County of Pulaski, State of Arkansas. A resolution to be entitled Resolution Number 2023-30. A resolution approving an economic development services contract with the Maumelle Area Chamber of Commerce.
Thank you. So this is a resolution that we've kind of had lingering out here for a little while. We brought it, the chamber last year, under different leadership, elected not to renew the contract with the city. One of the first things Kelly brought up is that she and the board wanted to renew that contract. We've kind of bounced it back and forth, and it's got lost a little bit here and there as we've been focusing on other priorities. As you heard earlier, the chamber's been really boring and not doing anything at all, so no. They finally had a chance to kind of remind us to get it back up. This is something that we would typically run earlier in the year, but nonetheless, it is here now. I'll go ahead and open the floor for discussion. If there is, Councilmember Williams?
Motion to adopt Resolution 2023-30.
I've got a motion and a second to adopt Resolution 2023-30. As a reminder, this is already budgeted money. It doesn't require any additional funds. State law just requires that the council approve these on an annual basis. Any additional discussion? Seeing none, all those in favor, please signify by saying yes. Yes. All opposed, no. Motion carries. Next item of business is Resolution 2023-31, amending the 2023 budget. Madam City Clerk, if you could please read that by title only.
A resolution of the City Council of the City of Maumelle, County of Pulaski, State of Arkansas. A resolution to be entitled Resolution Number 2023-31. A resolution to amend the 2023 Police Fund budget.
Just to clarify, this is pretty straightforward. They sold some vehicles and want that money applied to new vehicles. Is there any discussion on this resolution? Seeing none, I'd entertain a motion to adopt it.
So moved.
I've got a motion and second to adopt Resolution 2023-31. Any discussion on that motion? Seeing none, all those in favor, please signify by saying yes.
Yes.
All opposed, no. Motion carries. The next item of business is Resolution 2023-32, amending the 2023 Street and Grant Fund budget. Madam City Clerk, if you could please read that by title only.
A resolution of the City Council of the City of Maumelle, County of Pulaski, State of Arkansas. A resolution to be entitled Resolution Number 2023-32. A resolution to amend the Street and Grant Fund budgets.
Thank you. A little bit of a reminder about what this project is. First of all, this is the side path / sidewalk that will connect Lake Williston to Club Manor. We had talked about this. The city last year kind of rediscovered an old 2014 grant that the city had been awarded for the construction of sidewalks along Club Manor. That grant did not proceed at the time because the designs required certain rights of way that were not able to be acquired through negotiation, and so the project was just sort of shelved. We thought that money had gone away. It did not. We have approximately 62,000. Ooh, I might have written one of these wrong. 52 or 62,000, and then the city contributed the other 62 or 52 for that. We went to design and went out to bid. We received bids that came in above that amount. We can do the project, but we would have to deduct a few things. For example, it's currently a 14-foot side path, which is the same side path that'll be on Club Manor. There's also a connection to the north side of Lake Williston Drive by sidewalk and ramp, and the east side of Lake Williston Drive. So if we omitted those projects, we can do it within the current budget. That said, because we've got the project here, it's still grant funds, we'll have the contractors out. If we're ever going to make those little extensions to increase pedestrian access in that area, it really makes sense to do it now. So this resolution is asking for $25,000 more of street funds. As we saw during the financial report, the street fund currently has $4.9 million in it. I'll go ahead and open the floor for discussion. Councilmember Mosley?
Is it asphalt or cement?
It is concrete.
Concrete?
Yeah.
Okay. Thank you.
Councilmember Williams?
Where is it exactly? I mean, where do we
This-
want the sidewalk to go?
Well, it is a side path, so it will connect, and run along Lake Willistine Drive there, kind of splitting that area.
Okay, so you got Chiropractic in there?
Correct, in
Okay.
that vicinity.
So
It's
is it
kind of
across the
between the
street?
berm and the road there. It comes down a bit and doesn't cross at that intersection. We're looking for a mid-street crossing.
Gotcha, okay.
And the plans for the Club Manor redesign, I believe, is going to have a crossing there. The idea was to take the crossing away from the intersection and away from additional points of conflict.
So it would come out across the street from Track D?
Yes.
Is that right?
Yes,
Okay,
and
okay.
toward Track D. So we can do that. The additional money is to make sure that it can, so the side path kind of turns and heads toward the existing trail that goes around Lake Willistine. We'd like to connect it all the way up to Lake Willistine Drive and therefore give sidewalk access and access to the future greenway to all the residents down that direction and also across the street.
Okay, I like it a lot. I walk over there just about every day, and that's a mud hole right there where you're talking, right there at the top. So that would be great.
And on down, yeah.
Yeah.
And we do have the engineer here, if there's any tougher questions. I think I've answered those correctly. I did get a thumbs up, so. Yeah. If there's nothing further, I'd entertain a motion to adopt resolution 2023-32.
So moved.
I've got a motion and a second. Or is there any discussion on that motion? All those in favor, please signify by saying yes.
Yes.
All opposed, no. Motion carries. Thank you very much. And that project will get started soon. Because it's just a small side path connection, we probably aren't going to have a groundbreaking or anything along those lines. But we hope to here soon have one, well, soon being relative term, for Club Manor. With that, we will move on to the first reading of ordinance 1098, amending a preliminary plat procedure. Madam City Clerk, if you could please read that by title only.
Be it enacted by the City Council of the City of Maumelle, County of Pulaski, State of Arkansas, an ordinance to be entitled Ordinance Number 1098, an ordinance to amend the procedure for submitting final preliminary plats and subdivisions and for other purposes.
Thank you. Mr. Grummer, would you like to give an overview of this?
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Council members, so this was an amendment to the code that was approved for recommendation for approval from the Planning Commission to bring some consistency to our preliminary plat extension process. So in our plan unit developments, you can do an extension, you can do 1-year extensions twice. And for most of the land that we deal with, extensions is PRDs. We generally don't deal with them in the subdivision ordinance, but in the subdivision on regular zoned land, this would align those to accommodate extensions the same way as in a PUD.
Thank you, sir. I'll go ahead and open the floor. I turned off my own mic mid-word. I'll go ahead and open the floor for discussion. If there is none, this will be on second reading at the next city council meeting. Just a heads up, if y'all, I know there's a whole lot of paperwork that gets put out. Whenever there's anything coming through planning, I strongly encourage you to look at the reports from Scott and his team. They're usually very thorough and will answer and explain at least staff's recommendations and how they see it. So just encourage you to do that. With that, we'll move on to Resolution 2023-33, a resolution to certify the taxation rate for the tax year 2023. Madam City Clerk, if you could please read that by title only.
A resolution of the City Council of the City of Maumelle, Pulaski County, Arkansas, resolution number 2023-33, a resolution certifying to the Pulaski County, Arkansas County Clerk the rates of taxation to be levied by the City of Maumelle on taxable real and personal property within the City of Maumelle, Arkansas for the tax year 2023.
All right, thank you. So just as a reminder, this is just the annual renewal that we have to send to the county clerk. This is not increasing taxes. This is the same lower rate that we had last year. You all will recall that when the capital improvement bonds were paid off, the 6.6 mils property tax also went away at that time. That is not here either. So I'll go ahead and open the floor for discussion. If there is no discussion on that, I'd entertain a motion to adopt Resolution 2023-33. We've got a motion and a second. Any discussion on that motion? Seeing none, all those in favor, please signify by saying yes.
Yes.
All opposed, no. Motion carries. Next order of business is the first reading of Ordinance 1099. Madam City Clerk Treasurer, if you could please read that by title only.
Be it enacted by the City Council of the City of Maumelle, County of Pulaski, State of Arkansas, an ordinance to be entitled Ordinance Number 1099, an ordinance to adopt Maumelle City Codes 2-441, governing designated professional services and for other purposes.
All right, this is just a quick background. Y'all know that we have to go out for bids on projects of a certain dollar amount for most things. There's a few things called professional services where we cannot go out for bid. Things like engineering services, those sorts of, and state statute lists a few specific professional services for which they want governmental entities to choose the best professional service, and then there's a process that goes through negotiation and evaluating the qualifications. The idea behind that is generally that you're not wanting to hire necessarily maybe the cheapest engineer for a project. So those are exempted from that. State statute also lists different gives cities the ability to list additional services for which you are not going out for bid. You are instead doing a request for qualifications, and then you choose your top three. You negotiate with your first one on price. If you can't come to terms on that, you go to your second one and on down. One of the things that we have done in the past is try to go out for bid or get quotes due to the dollar amount of required quotes, not a bid, on planning services. So actually what's led to the Club Manor corridor was that Club Manor small area plan, as well as the North Maumelle small area plan that we did. We did that through receiving quotes, which is contacting multiple different planners and then having them give us a price on it. The prices that we got were wildly different. I don't remember the numbers, but it was something like one of the quotes came in at $2,500 and one of the quotes came in at $30,000. And it wasn't until we really started digging into the scope of services and what was included in each of those quotes that we realized that we weren't talking apples and oranges. We were talking apples and monkeys. I mean, and all of them were competent planners, just different ideas of what the scope of the services was. So anyways, this is designed to list some of those professional services for which we would go through the RFQ process, the request for qualifications, and follow that procedure instead of quotes. I'll go ahead and open the floor for discussion. Councilmember Mosley.
I'd like to ask our city attorney, this is, going out for, bids and having competitive bidding and all that is kind of like a control. And so I was gonna ask the city attorney if he thought this is wise to do this, or is there anything on this list that perhaps he would maybe recommend not including in this? And you don't have to answer that tonight, we've got
No,
three
sure, I can-
readings.
I'll give you an answer.
Okay,
It's pretty rare that I get into the realm of giving advice about the wisdom of a certain policy. A lot of it is just beyond my competence. I can tell you that the state statute says that cities can designate additional professional services. They have to do it by a 2/3 vote. If the city council wishes to list 10 or 1 or 15 or 100 additional professional services, that's the pleasure of the city council. I don't have any particular opinion about certain services being wise or unwise. There's still so for things that are under $35,000, this RFQ procedure wouldn't even apply because the bidding procedure wouldn't apply. 35,000 is the limit for bidding. Then the mayor's own in-house procurement policy would apply. I think, yeah, there's wisdom to competitive bidding, but there's also, I think, very good wisdom to say that some kinds of services, we're not talking about buying screws, we're not talking about buying asphalt, we're talking about professionals. So I think there is good reason. Obviously, the state thinks that there's good reason for exempting professional services. That's why they listed legal services, financial advisory services, architectural, engineering, and construction management. Those are the default ones that apply to all entities. And then they give the option to cities, if they wish, to add additional types of services.
okay, thank you very much, appreciate that.
Any additional discussion? If not, this will be on second reading at the next city council meeting. And that brings us to the Park on the River discussion. Just as a preliminary matter, I called Timmons with Team Summit about 5:30, 5:20 to let her know what my recommendation was going to be tonight, and she noted that she wished I would have let her know earlier so that she could be here. She had a prior meeting that she was attending, and so really wanted to see if we could postpone this. I advise that the resolution, and just as a little bit of a reminder, the council may recall that Resolution 2023-13 extended the lease agreement with Team Summit for Park on the River, but then required me to come back to the council with a recommendation and sort of a list of different uses or possible uses for the Park on the River. So I told her I couldn't postpone it, but that we'd be going forward tonight. And I did mention that the city council doesn't necessarily have to make a decision tonight. There may be follow-up questions or whatnot. But anyways, I just wanted to clarify that. So what this is, of course, Park on the River is a city-owned facility. It has been under management for the building by Team Summit essentially since the city purchased that property. Park on the River is a little bit of a different piece of park property in that it has never really fully been under the control of parks. When the Mayor Johnson and the council at that time purchased the property, they're the ones that determined what the use would be and how that was going to go about. And that differs from most of Parks properties where the Parks Department sort of operates the facility and the bulk of what goes on, and or handles the agreements with, say, maybe a sports association, and the sports association works with Parks and Rec. This has sort of been, Team Summit has always worked with Parks, but it's been more administratively controlled by City Hall, the City Council, and the like. So let me go over just a little bit of what we did in the process of trying to examine what to do. We had several city council meetings where we were all discussing different ideas and options of what could happen at Park on the River. On May 16th, we held a drop-in open house at Park on the River where we were there for about 4 hours. I think we had planned to be there a little bit longer and ended up leaving because we didn't have a single person come for over an hour, hour and a half. And so I looked at Philip, and it was just the two of us at that point, and we're like, I think we're good to go. It's starting to get dark there. We didn't have a tremendous turnout. I don't have the exact number, but I think we had about 8 public comment cards, and I think maybe 10 people other than city staff and elected officials, which comprised of maybe 20 people all in all. But the primary ideas that emerged, there was a reoccurring consensus seemed to be that park is underutilized and that there could be additional amenities added to that park to make it more desirable. Things such as bathroom facilities, more picnic tables, park benches, just that sort of thing that could work. We had, of course, recommendations, and the council talked about utilizing that business as a sit-down restaurant. We think largely if that was going to occur, we'd really want to sell it, and it's not, it would require a lot of renovation to get it up to restaurant status. There was discussion about keeping it as an event center of some sort. And I think there's a lot of merit to that idea at this time. We know there's an event center planned to be built at in the area of the Maumelle Country Club. We expect building plans to be submitted soon, but currently there isn't that sort of venue that really suits the bill. So we think there's use at least in the short term for a continued event center space. The event center and the way it was being used by Team Summit was really a very full service event center. I think Timmons, Team Summit, and her team of folks ran a very top-notch, full-service event center. A lot of the discussion that we heard just browsing social media, from what the council said, from what people noted, is that maybe the price point or the full-service aspect was a little bit too costly for some of the uses, and the property could be better utilized with more of what I'll call self-service. It's not the full service event. It's more of a venue that you can lease, and if you want to bring your own food in or your own tables, you can do that, or you can hire someone to bring those in. And doing that, we think, gets the price point down and is more scalable for different uses of events. We also heard things like using the property for different community events, whether it's a food truck vendor night, live music night, craft vendor events, holiday celebrations, pet events, birthday parties, and the like. You all may recall that Courtney Dunn mentioned different things like a welcome center or a visitor center. During this process, we also heard discussion about things like a small mountain bike track or a pump track on the elevated portion. A lot of the focus that we were looking at is we know the regional greenway is going to be going through there. The city has a beautiful park right off where that greenway will be, and there's a lot of different uses that it can be. But we're still leading the greenway. The greenway isn't built yet; it's not completed. That connection point isn't there, so we're still a little bit early on trying to turn it into, in my opinion, a full tie-in to the Gateway Park or the regional greenway that's going up and down there. We also so long story short, what my recommendation is, and we didn't discover any uses, we didn't hear feedback from the public on really many different uses than what we had talked about and what we've all kind of heard. My recommendation at the time, for the time being, is to set Parks and Rec onto the project. Let them run it as a self-service sort of. I say self-service. I'm oversimplifying it. Rent it out. Philip and his team did put together a little pro forma that I can pass out just on some of their ideas. I meant to pass that out at the beginning. They've looked at how it could work as a parks, a full-on parks facility run by a parks facility. We think there's about $11,000 that would be an initial startup cost. That's listed in here for just things like some tables and some of the things that they think they'd need right now. A lot of the operational, the reoccurring costs are already being paid by Parks and Rec currently. So I'll give you a second just to look over that. A few of their initial theories were things like you can rent it out by the hour for $100 an hour or for $500 for the full day. By and large, and Philip, please correct me if I'm speaking out of line, come running up and throwing things at me. They think they can largely run it with current staff. In other words, we don't need a new facility manager. There were questions about whether we need a part-time janitor, and of course this assumes that we still full with rec aides. So in looking at that, I think that by turning it over to Parks and Rec, letting them run that, there's all these ideas that we've been talking about, many of which are great uses at the park, adding facilities, how we can tie that in or either change it to be a visitor center at some point in the future. We think all of those can be done in the future, but this seemed a little bit like an instance where I think we've got this vision. We've been looking at how we're spending money, city money. We've been looking at the projects, and they're all kind of tied to this theme. Park on the River fits that theme, but it's almost like several phases down. Just because the Greenway isn't there, we've been focusing on Club Manor in the city center with the pickleball courts and the civic center, the pickleball courts, the playground, these areas, and increasing pedestrian. It's almost like the Park on the River is kind of outward a little bit, and maybe not the priority in terms of the ongoing projects. And so we think by turning it over to Parks and Rec, getting them really in the business of operating that as an event center, that may prove to be wildly successful as is, but it also provides opportunity for us to reevaluate the situation in the future. I do want to say something about the difference between having this as an in-house parks run facility versus having it run by a management company. Really, I see it a little bit as a mission difference. It's a different mission. I think that Team Summit has run and has done a fabulous job running a high-quality event center at Park on the River. Some of the feedback we were hearing, though, was that it's priced out for a lot of Maumelle folks. It's difficult and so expensive to lease that it just isn't practical, and so it's being underutilized. So this is not a statement about Team Summit or their management. At least from my office, it's more a mission shift away from a full-service event center to a city-operated event center. If somebody wants a full service, a wedding, reception, or these high-quality sort of full-service events, they are perfectly capable of hiring someone, whoever they want, including Team Summit, to help really do the planning elements of that. So I'll go ahead and open the floor for discussion. Philip is here as well and can answer any questions as to that. As a reminder, the Park on the River is under contract with Team Summit up until September, so we're not looking at an immediate change. You'll recall that one of the reasons that was set out is because people plan weddings and events in advance, and we didn't want to rip the rug out from anyone. We wanted folks to know that if they were leasing and planning an event, they would be able to have that event, and we wouldn't just rip that out from them. I'll go ahead and open the floor. Any Councilmember Mosley?
Yeah, I think this is the most logical plan. I think this is a good plan. Like you said, this opens it up to more like birthday parties, reunions, things like that. and would allow more use of that type by the average resident. And I think that's something that I really think we ought to do. And it does give somebody like Team Summit or another event that they can rent the thing out for the day and put on a full-scale thing. So I think it satisfies all the needs. And I hadn't really emphasized revenue that much, but I think this will probably make us more revenue than 18,000 a year. I think this will come in better than that. So I think this is a good idea, Mayor.
Thank you. Well, and it's not irreversible. It's not an irreversible decision. If we get in there and determine that it's just not working and we want to go back with the management company, this is not an irreversible decision. Councilmember Shin?
What kind of phone service do we have out there for $1,700 a year?
The only phone service is connected to the
Alarm system?
alarm system.
Wow.
That I'm aware of.
Any additional commentary? Mr. City Attorney?
So, Mr. Mayor asked me to give him a memorandum with city's legal options to recover unpaid rent. Y'all will recall that this, I think, was brought to light at the end of 2022. It was discovered that the city wasn't receiving that line item. And then after further investigation, discovered that the last time they had been that Team Summit had been invoiced was April of 2019. In my memorandum, I give a couple of legal theories for recovering it. I think a sensible first step would be for the city council to authorize the mayor to begin settlement negotiations. I think there's a very good chance that we could just come to an agreement with Team Summit. And after the mayor engages in those discussions, come back to you all with a proposal. And then you can decide for yourself if you want to settle it or what further action you want to take. That would be my recommendation, at least.
Councilmember Mosley?
Yeah, I assume it could be we could possibly ask the city attorney to do that. As far as negotiating it or whatever, since you're more familiar with the law and that sort of thing. I know you know, like for the land across from the roundabout, you've been negotiating on that deal. And so would it not be more appropriate to have the city attorney do that?
I'm happy to be a part of it. I'd prefer if the mayor were also part of it. Just like, frankly, I'd prefer if Ms. Souza were also part of it, just because she's intimately familiar. The mayor is intimately familiar with the whole history of it all.
Intimately familiar is an awfully strong term.
I mean,
I've become more familiar with it.
He's been here many years longer than I've been here.
Councilmember Gronwald?
Yeah, I just wanted to say that I can appreciate we've got more to discuss on this, and I think this is a good start in getting that discussion back going. But my question is, as far as timeline, I know that, we have the contract through September 2024, but in the case that Parks and Rec are going to take it over, wouldn't we as a council need to budget for that in this upcoming budget term for 2024?
Yes.
Okay. And my only other concern that I just want to throw out there for people to think about, or, maybe even the city to come up with suggestions or a plan, or maybe from Parks and Rec. My concern has been and still is whether whoever rents it, whether it's Parks and Rec or anybody else, is how we plan on, and I don't expect an answer now, but how we plan on promoting it. I think that's going to be the key to success if Parks and Rec take it over, because right now there is no marketing on the city side of it, really. Very few people know about it or understand that really and truly it's two different spaces, a public park and a separate venue for rental. So that's my concern that I want everybody kind of give some thought to.
Councilmember Holt?
I agree with Councilmember Cromwell. My first point is that I very much agree that it should be under the wing of our Parks and Recreation. I think that's a great idea. I also agree that the promoting of it is the other part of it, to give them the opportunity to make it a full service deal. So I think the community at large will be happy that it's under the wing of the city in general. The settlement part of it, I would hope that we would proceed to find a way to bring all of the past history of that to an end, and the degree of settlement as to whether or not we can do it informally, obviously up to the city attorney. But depending upon if we can determine how many dollars is potentially at stake, regardless of whose fault it is, this, that, and the other, all the details. But look at the total amount so that we can present to if we do present it to the public at large, if anyone wants to know how we have concluded, and get that out of the way, and then we can proceed on our own with our own mission. So I'm in favor of everything we've done so far. Thank you.
Councilmember Shin?
While I agree that the city will make more money this way, I think we're also going to be surprised at how much more the operating costs are going to be compared to what we expect, based on hospitality. 25 years in hospitality, I think we're going to be shocked at what it costs to do this.
Thank you, sir. Councilmember Mosley?
Yeah, I would ask that we wait until the next meeting to go ahead and make a decision. I think we're all kind of moving along the same path on both these items, so, but I just would like, between a meeting, just to kind of mull all of it over here. I just read the city attorney's memo there just when I first got here, and so I'd like for it to sink in a little bit. Thank you.
Any additional discussion? There is none, so we'll go ahead and add this back to the council packet agenda for the next city council meeting. That concludes new business and all business before the city council. A couple mayor's comments. First of all, a shout out to the fire department. They held their first annual fire safety day, and it had tremendous turnout, a surprising amount of turnout. They had little obstacle courses for the kids. It was its own little fire themed community event. So good job to Chief Buford and his crew. I believe Chief Eaton worked on it as well a fair amount. Next, mayor's comment, and a kind of an exciting one. I think I've passed out the right number. What's that? You can have a copy, I think. I haven't counted them. I've got one in my office, so I'm set. That is the draft master bike and pedestrian plan. So the current idea is that the planners will be out next week or at the next city council meeting to actually give a presentation and kind of explain what you're looking at. I'd encourage you in the meantime to take a look at that, familiarize yourself with it a little bit, and so yeah. I don't have a date yet for the pickleball court groundbreaking, but that'll be coming up in the next several weeks. We believe I've got a pre-construction meeting tomorrow with the contractors on that, and so we'll probably know more about that here soon, but we're hoping that'll be underway in the next several weeks to a month. So be on the lookout for an invitation to the groundbreaking. That concludes mayor's comments. We'll move on to council member comments. Councilmember Shin.
Two things. I drove around through Willow Oak yesterday. It appears that all of the digging is done over there. All the ground is all the holes are filled. They're waiting on electronics and turf, and they're out of that area. Now I got the first, it isn't really the first, but now the emails are coming off of Oak Ridge Drive, so it'll be ongoing. I had a comment and a question about the all-inclusive playground. Happened to drive by there, took my wife by there after our meeting 2 weeks ago, and they were hanging the last 3 swings. And they let us come out and walk all through it and walk all over it, ask all kinds of questions, and really am impressed with what we got.
It's beautiful.
My only question is our only handicap access gonna be from the library as far as from parking onto the playground?
As well as the street.
Okay, so we are gonna have a street access?
I believe there's already street, handicap access. If you see where that little divot is, in the sidewalk along Lake Point Place, that was, built, at the time of the splash pad to serve as the.
Further back up the street?
Yes,
Okay.
yes.
Well, the library was concerned about that, so.
Yeah, no, we have the, spots there in the street. We don't have a massive parking lot out there though, right? And so we have certain limitation, but they'll have more than one.
Okay. All right, thank you.
I'm chuckling at the idea of building an all-inclusive playground that is not, that.
That was kind of like.
Anyways, any additional council member comments, city attorney comments?
I know many of you have gotten, probably have gotten comments about constituents at the intersection of the Boulevard and Audubon. There's a lot of accidents there. I know in district court, I see a lot of accident tickets at that intersection, and I know the mayor's, there's a traffic signal that's in the processing, but in the meantime, the mayor's approved some signage on Montpelier and on Audubon approaching the boulevard, so hopefully we'll be able to reduce some accidents meanwhile, while we wait for RDOT to approve the signal.
Thank you, sir. City clerk comments?
No, sir.
If there's nothing further, I'd entertain a motion to adjourn.
Mr. Mayor, I make a motion that we adjourn the city council meeting of October the 16th, 2023.
I have a motion and a second to adjourn. Any discussion on the motion? Seeing none, all those in favor, please signify by saying yes. All opposed, no.